Jaylen Hands was a 5-star recruit and regarded as one of the best point guards of all time for high school basketball. But ever since then, it's been terrible for him. So what happened and where is he today? When I say this, I mean it. This video is really going to shock you because where he's currently playing, you would not, and you may not even believe it. But however, it's true, and needless to say, he's fell off the face of the earth. From a guy who had all the clout, hype, and attention in the world to now a guy that no one even talks about. All I'm going to say is, this is going to be a very interesting and a great story. I'm excited to get into it, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. So without further ado, let's dive into it. To start things off, you already know we gotta throw it all the way back to where things started. Growing up when he was in elementary school, a kid, and in middle school, he was always looked at as one of the best players. He was just that type of guy. He had a lot of friends, he was a leader, and he was always the quote-unquote main character. Once he got to high school, those talents and main character roles transferred over. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about his high school career because you all know how good he was. He was a 5-star recruit, one of the best point guards in the country, and for his senior season, he averaged 30 points per game. He also pitched in 6.7 rebounds and 6.5 assists. Jaylen was nothing short of a star. He was on every Hoop Mixtape company's videos, and he was also on some other YouTube videos. What made this guy so attractive was that he had that humble appearance, and everyone loves rooting for a humble guy. He's one of the guys that I always sort of kept up with, and I remember when he was going into college, everybody thought he was going to dominate, take over, and be a one and done lottery pick. And I'm not going to lie, I just really never saw all the hype about him. If you were like me and you kept up with Jaylen Hands, that also means you probably more than likely kept up with Collin Sexton. For me personally, I was just a huge Collin Sexton fan and I thought he was way better than Hands. I don't know what it was about Jaylen, he's a great player, but I just could never buy into him. I never really saw the potential and star power in his game like I did for Collin. I guess what I'm really trying to say is, I'm going to be blunt about it, was I didn't think he was good as everybody thought he was. I thought he was going to be a good high school player and that's it. Ultimately, looking back on it, I guess I was right. Anyways, we took a little brief curve from the story, let's get back into it. The way I'm talking and the way this story's going, you're probably thinking that I'm going to say his college career wasn't good, and that's not the case. It wasn't a disaster by any means, but it just wasn't really good or great. It was just average. As a freshman for UCLA, he teamed up with junior known as Aaron Holiday. Aaron Holiday and Jaylen Hands both in the backcourt was a dynamic duo. They were expected to dominate and be explosive playing alongside of each other. But that didn't even happen because Jaylen was so inconsistent that he even got benched for most of the season. He wound up starting the first 5 games and then he missed a game or 2 because he sprained his left foot, and when he returned he came off the bench. And once he started coming off the bench, he was like the permanent 6th man. Near the end of the season, he wound up starting 1 to 2 more games, but he did get hurt a little at the end of the season. It was very minor though, so don't think nothing of it. All he did was sprain his right ankle in a practice. When it was all said and done for him, obviously it was a disappointment of a season. He only averaged 9.9 points per game in 25 minutes played. He also pitched in 1.8 turnovers, which isn't that bad considering he had the ball a lot, and he also had 2.6 assists. Here was the really big problem with that though. Going into UCLA, everyone, including Jaylen himself, thought it was going to be a one and done. But with that being said, nobody predicted or even thought he'd have a terrible freshman season like he did. I said terrible. What I mean by that is that it was terrible for his standards. He was expected to be a 15 points per game and 5 to 6 assists guy, not a 10 points per game and 2 assists guy. Jaylen thought he was still good enough to go to the NBA and get drafted, so he declared for the 2018 NBA draft. He wound up going to the NBA draft combine, but he withdrew from the draft and returned for his sophomore season. Let me clarify this before we move on. A lot of times you'll see that where players put their name in the draft and they come back and people get confused by that. Basically, all that means is that they're getting a sample size and they're talking to teams to see where they get drafted. If that's not simple enough, I'll make it even more simple and dumb it down. Basically means if a player declares for the draft and comes back, they was probably going to get undrafted. I say get undrafted, I mean go undrafted. You know what I'm trying to say. You get the point. He came back for his sophomore season. And in that sophomore season, he was expected to explode, have a great season, and then go to the NBA and be that star. But you know where this is about to go. That really didn't happen. He wound up returning and was the starting point guard for the team. He had a good year. I wouldn't say it was a really good or a great year, but it was solid. He averaged 14.2 points per game, 6.1 assists, and roughly 4 rebounds. Just by looking at his numbers, you can tell that he jumped up all of them from his freshman season, and that's what NBA scouts and everyone likes to see. His 3-point percentage stayed relatively the same, right at 37%. And for his field goal percentage, it was the same too. It went from 40 to 41. So for the season, you're looking at a 6'3" point guard who only weighs 180 pounds, who averaged 14 points per game and 6 assists. Don't get me wrong, like I said, those are good college numbers, but you can find a guy scoring 14 points and averaging 6 assists almost anywhere. I'm not going to knock his size because him being 6'3" and 180, it isn't the best build, but it's good enough. The thing that really hurt Jaylen in the draft is that he wasn't getting better at the college level. And that's what NBA scouts and NBA teams look at. They don't care how long you're at college, they just want to see you getting better and see that potential. And I know what you're thinking or you're about to say in the comments. Well, Matt, he improved from his freshman to his sophomore year. Yes, his numbers did, but his game really didn't. His potential as a junior and senior in high school was really the same for his freshman and sophomore season in college. I hate to say this about him, but it's true. He peaked in high school. He didn't get drafted real high in the NBA draft, and nobody was high on him because there was no potential to be high about. He reached his potential, and that's a good thing, but if your potential is 14 points per game and 6 assists, that's a bad thing. Anyways, after his sophomore season, he wound up announcing that he was going to go to the NBA draft again, but this time he was going to hire an agent. Most people thought he'd go undrafted, so kind of shockingly, he was selected by the Los Angeles Clippers in the second round of the 2019 draft. He was the 56th pick, and there's only 60 picks, so he was close to being undrafted. Shortly after that, he was acquired by the Brooklyn Nets along with the 2020 first round pick in exchange for some random player who was taken earlier. So the Clippers traded him to the Nets, and the Nets put him down to their G League team. He wound up playing a lot in their G League, and he was okay. He averaged 11 points, 3.5 assists, and 3 rebounds. Once again, good numbers, solid numbers, but not great numbers. Those numbers aren't good enough to get you in the NBA. Or not just get you in the NBA, but be a valuable player on a team. Shortly after his rookie season though, on November 19th, 2020, he was traded to the Detroit Pistons in a 3-team trade. 3-team trade. I know I kind of messed that up, but that's hard to say. And yeah, I guess he didn't like it there. I really don't know what happened, but out of nowhere, in this current year, on January 1st, in 2021, Jaylen signed a 2-year contract with a Serbian team known as FMP of the ABA League. That's correct. Jaylen now is playing for a Serbian team. I know nothing about this team because I can't speak or even read their language. I was trying to do some research on it, and just like all of his other seasons, Jaylen's having an okay year. Nothing great, nothing bad, it's just good/average. A little fun fact about Jaylen though and his team is that he's the only US player on that team. Kind of unreal and just an unprecedented path to where he is now. Who would have thought Jaylen freaking Hands, who only 4 to 5 years ago was a high school star, everybody thought he was going to be the next great point guard in the NBA, is now playing for a Serbian team. I didn't think he was going to make it to the NBA, but I for sure didn't think he'd wind up where he is now. I thought he'd be a role player, a bench player, or in the G League. I think I speak for everyone when I say this. What a unreal and crazy story. Definitely did not live up to the hype and expectations that everyone put on him. I think his biggest downfall and flaw was that he peaked way too early. He was great in high school, I'll give him that, but that was his max. There's no way to make things nice or sugarcoat it, he never got better. It's been a sad and downhill spiral ever since high school for him, so I hope he's doing good. I know mentally that's gotta be frustrating for him because at one point in time he was the man all over the world, and now no one even talks about him. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about Jaylen Hands. Could he return to the NBA one day? Hey, who knows? Let me know in the comments. But with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family. We're on the road to 100K, and I can't get there. I said we can't get there without you. Appreciate if you join the family. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like for more. And as always, let's be great. I'm out, y'all. Peace.